if I can offer you a chance?
And what does my chance require?
Someone's changing the proper flow of time. You're here to help me catch this guy.
Who is it?
Someone very familiar.
You gotta be kidding me.
He could be hiding anywhere, anytime.
How nice to meet you. This was something I could never have seen coming.
It was really helpful to listen to Tom talking about the mischief, because she's another version of Loki. But it was important to make sure she was unique.
Because she's Sylvie, she's not Loki.
What exactly makes a Loki a Loki?
Independence, authority, style.
Awful throw.
Loki comes face to face with Sylvie and wants to know more. A few questions.
You're in my way. The audience will be intrigued by Sylvie's arc and the backstory.
It really just sets the groundwork for this character.
The universe wants to break free, so it manifests chaos, like me.
Sylvie is going to leap into the MCU with extraordinary energy.
People are going to love her.
Expect the unexpected.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my Marvel Loki Episode 4 trailer video. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs here and reveals about Sylvie's character, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. I'm doing videos for all the Marvel Disney Plus series this year. There's a whole bunch more stuff coming up with Marvel What If later this summer. I'll talk about that as we get closer to the Loki finale, too. We're doing a giveaway for Disney Plus memberships. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment with your favorite Easter egg from the series so far. Careful for spoilers for everything that's happened on Loki so far, too, if you haven't seen the episodes. But the new trailer for Episode 4 just gives us all the clues we need to know how Loki and Sylvie make it off Lamentus 1, despite the fact that the Ark has just been destroyed and the Tempad portal device seems like it's broken. There were so many comments on my Episode 3 video about people just expecting big twists for a lot of the big MacGuffins during the episode. Like, maybe Loki is lying, maybe it's not really broken, maybe Sylvie was enchanting him the whole time, maybe he stole the Time Stone. I think after Wandavision and after Falcon and Winter Soldier, you have to be careful about how many twists you try to expect, because that was kind of the deal with Wandavision, like maybe this is going on, maybe these other things are going on, and the actual plot of both of those series wound up being way simpler than anybody ever expected. So Occam's razor with Loki, I would expect like one kind of twist, but not like a twist within a twist within a twist. It's not going to be that complicated. Remember, there are only 6 episodes, so they have to blow through this plot really fast. But if you look at this scene here at the end of the trailer, the footage is out of order. You see Sylvie sitting down again with Loki for another Loki to Loki chat amidst the apocalypse. The planet is still about to be destroyed. That hasn't changed. But this scene here is the longer version of the footage that we got in the earlier trailers. I tried to tell people that this wasn't Vormir and she was not Black Widow, but people just did not want to believe it last year when we first got those trailers. I think at the time, people were still fresh off of Avengers Endgame, and they were just looking for ways that Marvel could bring Natasha back from the dead with big twists. But Sylvie says some really interesting things to Loki here. She's speaking mostly in metaphors, but she says the universe wants to break free of the timekeepers, the sacred timeline, or the concept of the sacred timeline, so it manifests chaos like me. So just to be clear, she's not trying to say that she was created specifically by Eternity, which is the living embodiment of the multiverse, for the express purpose of killing the timekeepers and destroying the sacred timeline. She was born under normal circumstances in her own alternate timeline, born as a Loki, but then changed her name to Sylvie Laufey daughter. And the way they're explaining her backstory, especially during Episode 3, is that she was always supposed to have been way more of an oddball outsider than even our regular Loki. And her version of Odin was a way worse father because Frigga died when she was a child. Everyone break out your bad Marvel dads tier list. Odin isn't the worst Marvel dad, but he is up there. So when you hear stories about Loki causing mischief as a child, like the stories that Thor told during Ragnarok, imagine Sylvie getting into way more trouble, rebelling against all forms of authority as a child, not just rebelling against Odin and Asgard, but also, as we see from the other trailer footage, causing enough trouble to get herself arrested by the TVA as a child, meaning she would have had to have done something major enough to create a Nexus event. So this is probably when she became a variant. Maybe she got her hands on an Infinity Stone as a child, or she stole something ultra powerful from Odin's vault. Either way, she gets hauled in, she becomes a variant, and that's basically where her story as a variant begins. And as we know now, everyone who works at the TVA is supposed to be a variant, and they just get their minds wiped so they forget that they're variants. But during Episode 3, Sylvie didn't know that her magic would be nullified inside the TVA, so I think that means that she never became an agent of the TVA like our Loki or Hunter C-20 or any of these other variants, like Mobius. So that means that at some point after this, when she's a little girl, she would have had to escape custody somehow. She said that her mission to destroy the TVA had been in the works for a long time, so it sounds like that started after she escaped the TVA as a child. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if she chose the name Sylvie for herself after she became a variant. But as for them escaping Lamentis 1, so after they have that conversation, you can clearly see her being arrested again by the TVA, carted into one of those time theaters, sitting down for a scene very similar to episode 1 when Loki got carted in and had to watch the highlight reel of the Marvel movies. Like Loki's greatest hits, but this time make it Sylvie's greatest hits. So that's probably when they do all the scenes for her backstory. So simple explainer for how they escape the planet. Remember, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Wandavision theory, very simple way to explain this. It's probably Mobius and the TVA just catching up to them shortly after this moment. Notice this footage of Loki walking amidst all the other TVA hunters with Sylvie in chains in one of those collars to dampen her powers. And then you see this footage of Loki staring at a portal, also on Lamentis 1, like the portal is back to the TVA, and he's just pausing for a second, hesitating before he walks back through. So the TVA probably portals into Lamentis 1, rescues them, but also formally arrests Sylvie. And the reason why Loki is hesitating to go back for just a hot second here is probably because he's unsure of what's going to happen next. Sylvie's kind of growing on him this past episode, and he's starting to understand her message about the TVA and the Timekeepers being bad. And because of all the fight scenes with them together back to back later in the trailer, it sounds like at some point in the next episode or two, he does help her. He's also probably trying to figure out how to break the secret to Mobius that he's actually a variant. This also explains a big Easter egg or a big setup moment from episode 2. So remember the scene where he's with Renslayer, they're having the drinks, and he creates another ring on that table, and Renslayer yells at him? She says that he keeps doing that, keeps creating rings, but Mobius doesn't remember creating rings. So the idea is the TVA probably wipes everyone's minds on the regular, and that's why he doesn't remember. The way that Sylvie was talking about Hunter C-20, the big intro scene where she goes into her memories, she said she had to go back 100 years, but she was still able to find her original memories when she was on Earth. So similar things probably happen for all the other people working at the TVA. They still have some of their original memories that start to bubble up eventually, and they have to have their minds wiped again to reset them so that they don't remember that they're variants. Another cool detail about how the TVA exists outside of normal space-time, Sylvie says that she had to go back 100 years to get that memory, and when you're in that scene, it looks like present-day Earth. So that explains how that big multiverse war that Miss Minutes was talking about can still happen in the future, technically, because the TVA exists outside of normal space-time. So for them, it's in the past, but for the regular Avengers characters after Endgame in present day, it happens in the future. That being a big lead-in to the idea of what's happening with Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, the collapse of all reality, and the eventual setup for an Avengers Secret Wars arc way later down the road. There were also a lot of people wondering whether or not Renslayer knows the secret about them wiping everyone's minds, everyone being variants, because she's so high up on the ladder, it seems like. In the TVA, you assume that a few people up there at the top would know the true secret. But so far, the way they portrayed her character, the vibe that she gives off, she seems like a relatively good character who just blinded to what's really going on. Like she's played the good soldier this whole time following orders since she would have become a variant and started working there. Later, you see footage of Loki and Sylvie fighting their way up the elevator into this space where the Timekeepers are supposed to be. Like Loki is fighting with her short sword here. So at this point, they're working together, taking out all these other people that are supposedly protecting whatever is up here, whether or not it's the Timekeepers or something else. You clearly see Sylvie throwing her short sword at something, like at the frame, and it seems like they have their version of a Wizard of Oz reveal, like who is really behind the curtain here. And based on her reaction, her frustration here, it seems like, as we would expect, it's not what Sylvie or Loki are expecting, like they discover something deeper about the lie. Renslayer also seems like she chases them up here, but it's unclear if she's still fighting them or if she starts to question things and eventually helps them. My guess, just based on the way they're pacing the Loki series out, is that she probably won't start helping them till the end of the series, because I think that they want her to come off as a relatively good character. The way Gugu Mbatha Raw talked about it, I think we'll get more of her backstory in the later episodes. But there's still a whole bunch of other apocalypse scenes in these trailers for different planets that we haven't seen yet. Like there's this alternate version of Loki during the original Avengers movie inside the Avengers Tower. There's President Loki that we haven't met yet. I'm still kind of wondering if the real Kid Loki we see is young male Loki, like a more comic book accurate Kid Loki. I guess you could think of young Sylvie as a version of Kid Loki, but Kid Loki in the comics is more of like a teenage version of Loki, like a young Avengers age Loki. He's not like a tiny little kid. I also still really like the idea that Miss Minutes is somehow connected to all the darker, shady stuff going on with the Timekeepers in general and the TVA. It would be funny if she were the real main villain, like a rogue AI, like Ultron was. There was the funny moment with Loki trying to swat her at the beginning of episode 2. I think that was kind of set up for something bigger later on. Like we'll see another version of this scene later in the series with them actually trying to chase down a version of Miss Minutes. It's always the one you least suspect. But my full Loki Episode 4 video will post next week just like normal. I have some new Rick and Morty Season 5 that I'll be posting next. It may be a new Shang Chi video about what happened to Abomination after Incredible Hulk in Avengers Endgame, just to explain where he's been this whole time. If you have any special requests or big questions that you want me to do videos about, let me know in the comments. Congratulations, Alfredo Sauce. You're the giveaway winner from my last big Marvel video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone click here for my brand new Shang-Chi trailer video with Abomination vs. Wong, and click here for my full Loki Episode 3 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.